you have anyway. But that's going to give us extra energy. That energy that's already provided is going to give us extra. It gave us everything that we need. So we need not to worship any other thing that would has put us here. So the simplest thing to seem to do is to take different words that you continue to say and mimic those words, that they become a part of your being. So, for instance, if one is learning law, and one knows law, and you keep saying law over, do not lie, do not lie, do not lie, over and over, and you read it, you spell it out, it becomes a song, it becomes a part of your psyche. Stealing, part of your psyche. Sexual misconduct, part of your psyche. Loving your neighbor as yourself, which means your own people first, not other nationalities, just your people first. If you do those 5 things, it will eliminate self-hate, self-doubt, self-frustration, self-humiliation, and what it does is it brings the insight of who you are. When you do those things religiously, religion that go over and over. But if you say, well, let me go and watch, because in Hinduism, what do? Anything is good. Water, air, leaves, tree. That's what they do. So who taught? Look at who taught someone about eating the sun? People have tried to live off the sun and died.
You asked me which one was more important.
Freshly ground Parmesan
Great,
here.
appreciate that, sir.
No problem, and
All right.
be very careful because the bread is fresh out of the oven
Oh.
and it is hot.
Oh yeah,
Thank you.
that's what I need. Appreciate it.
No problem, enjoy.
Okay, buddy. That's what I need, some hot bread. Okay.
So you asked me which one was more important, the sun or the law. And I say that the sun is more important because you can't even speak the law or repeat anything. You can't sustain your body to even initiate without using the sun. What comes from the sun sustains the body. And so it's in our thinking and our nature and the essence that we're appreciating the byproduct of our essence instead of appreciating the essence and then the byproduct. The law comes after fire, water, earth, air, and ether. And man can do nothing with their being without first being sustained by those particular spirits. And contrary to popular belief, you can even look at the monsoon. You can look at African spirituality and see where some of the traits of our ancestors come from. They're elemental. They're the essence of who we are. And we've gotten in the habit of appreciating what is done with those essences as a collective. What man does as a fire, water, earth, air, and ether spirit, as a phi. He writes a book. He has a dogma. He has a religion. He writes the law. But he can't do any of that without using the essence of our creator, which is fire, water, earth, air, and ether. So law is not the most important thing, although it is a very important thing. It is not the most important thing, is the point that I'm making.
What you're talking about, I have to hear nature is what provides us service. And we don't have to worship nature because it's already given to us.
Not worship.
Let me finish. When you look at nature within itself, it's just doing what it's doing. It provides. Without man, there is no nature. So nature does what it does. It erupts volcanoes, whatever it does. The reverence that we give back is to obey the law of the land, to protect nature. How do we do that? We respect it. We don't do chemicals. The Africans were building. Do you know why they built the pyramids? In points? Because they were trying to do a concentration to be in contact with the outer space.
Mm-hmm.
So they built the pyramids in a point to do a concentration in order to stay in time and in contact with unidentified objects, whatever. That's why they were trying to mummify themselves. If you look at the African culture, they were the first one who brought on homosexuality. Because remember, they taught civilization. They were the beginning of civilization. And everything that is up in the United States was mimicked from African culture. we've been misled and misinformed by our enemies. The Africans, for a fact, are the first ones to enslave us. Written facts of we call ourselves Africans, but that's not really the name. Technically, Africans, that's not African. That's just a man who conquered Africa and named it Africa himself. So why do we call ourselves Africans? Smart people. Why don't we call ourselves one of the tribes? There's over 2,000 tribes, 52 countries. And we take all the good stuff, but they got nameless rituals that they did and practice. One was worshiping the sky that they got from the Bible. Period. Nothing more good than all the typical things that come from the enemies. If you look at the people in power right now, there's 6 nations that are in power. The Africans, the Asians, the East Indians, the Arabs, the Caucasians. They're in power right now. We are the Lord's tribe, the 12 tribes, are not in power right now. Haiti, West Indians, Judah, the original Jews, the Benjamin, the West Indians, and the other 10 nations, the Latino percent or the Europeanized Spaniards. We go on that because watching the sun and that's not going to strengthen you. It doesn't heal the body.
Yes, it does. And that's a scientific fact that it has healing
If it
attributes.
heals the body, well, why the mind is still messed up?
Okay, it's the same principle. That's what I wanted to say, and it fits right in. There's a fight for consciousness, okay? There's a fight for consciousness between what man has done with the elements and the elements themselves. Now, I'm not talking about worshiping, but I'm talking about the principles and attributes of these elements. For instance, the sun, to answer that question, does heal. And the reason why it doesn't do that yes, it is. There's there's scientific studies that talk about the process of, all right, there's a practice. You're not letting me speak now because you don't agree. And that's what I'm saying, a fight for consciousness. We want to cut off the other person's idea, right, and what they do in order to worship ourselves and what we believe. When I'm talking about what actually sustains your very ability to do that. You can't do that, any of that, without air, without your flesh, which is earth. You can't do any of that. Without the water, you're over 70% water. But we don't appreciate that. We don't appreciate our mother. But we want to take off with our mother's stuff, the attributes, the assets, the fire, water, earth, air, and ether, and do our own thing, and then neglect the fact that she's given to us.
It's okay over here.
Yes, it's wonderful. Thank you.
All right. More coffee for you?
Yes.
You got it.
Thank you.
No problem.
And that's what I'm saying. It's a proven fact that the sun has healing attributes. It's also a healing fact that some people have healed themselves with the power of thought. These people have healed themselves by using visualization and meditation and just acknowledging that that's something that they will themselves whole, right? Using a therapeutic process that can only be done if you believe it. And the same way the sun and the attributes of the sun work when you get photosynthesis comes down and hits the melanin in the skin.
It's not none of this has been proven.
Yes, it has been.
What has been
Thank
proven?
you.
What has been proven is each one that had went and did that foolishness has died because they went and ate the sun and they died of starvation.
No, these are ancient arts. No, not only the sun, and I'm not talking about like a Jericho sun fire where they're only eating sun eaters. I said it has healing attributes. I'm not talking about the other side of the pole where people only eat the sun and they don't eat any food and stuff. And a matter of fact, Jericho Sunfire came back years later and said how they be twisting the sacred arts.
Who's Jericho?
He was one of those people you're speaking of that were only just living off of the sun energy. And actually that whole thing was promoted off of something that he was doing. Years later he came back and he was stating how that got corrupted by economy, that they were making money off of the sun worship, living off of the sun, where you didn't eat any food, barely eating any food and stuff. And he was saying how his life was and what the purposes of it was initially from the ancient cultures. Ancient culture.
We know sons are him because that's what it naturally does. It grows. You know, there's stuff that don't even grow or opposite.
We've lost a lot of our healing techniques, though, because somebody always wants to be wiser than the elements around them. We take it and make these things into what we want them to, and then we want to neglect what it is we're making is made with it. It's weird.
I don't be enough for no white man, and I don't be enough for no African. You can kill that. Their stuff has not been authentic because it was not civilized. It was definitely the fact that our people came into the land and civilized that which was uncivilized. The pyramids were already being built before we landed on them. When the Hebrews came in and we was enslaved, we continued to build that, which they had us to build. Because we were just supposed to build pyramids because they wanted to live forever. That's why the pyramids are so big and so great, because they're trying to build up into the sky, where they can touch the sky. They were trying to mummify themselves to live forever.
Well, the Tower of Jericho is not the same thing as the pyramids. The pyramids was actually like if the planet was a computer. It was being used to line the planet up harmonically with the celestial bodies, so that they could receive information a lot clearer to help balance an irregularity that was on the planet.
How can you give balance? Balance. You cannot give balance. Balance is already here.
It was thrown off.
It's always have been thrown off since the beginning of time. Man is not equipped to try to go outside of their range. Man is only equipped to understand this right here, to stay within the realm of man and man, not to go outside and explore. And stay inside the elements, because we're already outside the elements with strange illusion. It's like how we come here and spend our money, but these people will come and spend money with us. That's an illusion. Where did that come from? That makes no sense. There's a chosen people that's been put on the planet that was supposed to govern the whole planet, but refused to obey the laws, not the sun. So we are lawless people, and lawful to go into realms of no understand. Like you said, I'm eating the sun. How does that help you? That's how he's on everything is still bananas. What I study lets me take a look at myself to understand the condition of what I'm in, and the people who definitely oppresses me, and not to love my oppressor.
It has its benefits.
Yeah.
You know.
The benefits of saying you go and look at the sun versus sun against you obeying.
I have a different relationship with the Creator as a planet, as elements, as who we are, than you do, and that's worth more to me than living by what some man told me to do.
The deal is man control right now. Man is put on this earth to control the planet. And in fact, we made, and that's what we got, but we don't.
Then wouldn't it also make sense that the planet gives man those messages?
I'm not saying that the woman doesn't have her place, but it seems like she gives place to give life only through the seed of the man. She can fight when she wants to fight against it. She's fighting against the powers or the sun that has created the man and the
We're not
woman.
fighting against it, working with it. It's man that's fighting against the
How is
elements.
that? Man is not
By
contesting.
making environments that are not sustaining life.
But
Or
what do you
keeping
mean?
life in mind when they make them. And when man moves across the earth to go do something, are they keeping the preservation of life
When you say that,
in mind when they move?
there's a certain.
You can't, wait a second. Man can't possibly be doing that if they don't consider what makes life first. If you put the law before you put what you're made of that can carry out the law, then that's backwards in essence.
It's not
And in
backwards.
essence, inside the tube is backwards. So when you go to carry out your initiative, it's backwards. It's putting man first over God.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
Because nature put man here, correct?
Yeah.
The sun and everything else put man here, right? Then it speaks to man.
That's what I'm
The
saying.
nature, so it speaks the law to man. It speaks the law to man to tell him what he needs to do and how to give reverence onto that. So if the man cannot first come into tune with understanding what is the law, then how can he understand what he's really supposed to do?
Exactly,
Not
and that's why.
So then we go into what nationality of man who is projecting what's going on, telling people or tricking people into what they need to do. What man? What people? And so, are we following those people who are disruptive, no matter how many good, bad, and different? Are we following those people and their conspiracy theories, or are we going to deal with the facts?
This is stuff that I have come across with my own research. It's no one else's.
Where you get it from?
My personal relationship. That's what I'm saying. It has nothing to do.
Do your personal relationship help people?
No, see, yes, it does. It helps people get back to their own personal relationship with the Creator, which is what you're created with, what you're made of, not with what you're saying, but with what you are. And that's the most important. If you have no relationship with what we are, that's why we're so disconnected with what we're making. And that's all I wanted to say about that sun. And there's no sun worship in my world. There's the attributes and benefits that the sun gives us that I'm aware of.
What benefits you? Because the behavior is still the same. So it's a benefit. It's supposed to be the change. You're not changing. You're still, I'm saying changing. You still have the same effects of things you had 20 years before.
No, I don't.
With your emotion, your outburst, your disposition, your paranoia, you know what I'm saying? And you're thinking, when you're pushing a corner, you don't say, I see that. You go with your frenzy. You can't control it.
I don't act any more irregular than the person who is pushing me when I'm speaking to them. Yes, if you're speaking with someone and they're pushing you emotionally into a corner and they're not responsive or they're being abrasive, then as a person, you need to stand up for yourself at some point.
It's the system.
And that has nothing to do. See, that's just like saying because you're a preacher or a reverend or a guru, you're not entitled to the anger or to respond to the irregularities or the abusive natures of other people around you. That's not true. And because I appreciate the sun, doesn't mean that I'm not going to respond to you or anybody else's ill nature.
So does your sun help your anxiety? That's the main purpose of talking about.
It actually increases my energy level, so I can't say it helps my anxiety. It helps with other things, but that's being unfair.
But when you just finish though, the most important thing that you deal with right now is your anxiety.
See, now this is funny, right? The sun is on trial. It is so important for man to have the attention to be able to heal, but not the sun. My relationship with the sun is not okay.
Listen, I'm not pushing.
So you want to attack it.
No, I'm dealing with facts, and it was never an attack. I said, do you have the consciousness that you say you see the sun, and you know that you're
Is everything okay with your life because of the law? No, it isn't. You walk in and you tear the whole house apart, and you know the law.
If you ask him, and I'll tell you, you know what I'm saying? I say the law has changed my life.
No, it didn't. You just called me a liar when I said the sun has changed me, but when I say the law ain't did you any good, that's the point I'm making. With the law, a man is not allowed to have flaws. With the sun, it's an attribute of man. I'm allowed to be so-called flawed because I'm perfect in the light of the Creator.
I dare you. It operates by 4 other elements, right?
Yes.
Water.
How's everything going over here?
Well, thank you.
We're in a deep discussion. And I'm losing.
Oh, I'm going to ask you,
Come on.
which one is more important?
He's working. He can't
Is
get
it
no
the
pain.
law or is it the elements? What sustains your body or is it the law that you walk around with?
That's easy.
See, we are in a deep conversation. I'm about to hurt him over here.
Wow. I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna get back
I know,
to you.
right? Okay, thank you.
Go to the bathroom, do that one. One thing about it is what you said, and you stand on that, you should never be able to get upset until you.
Oh my gosh, really? No, I'm gonna get upset like fire, like the sun, like a full time. Put some fire in your butt and get real cold about it.
You know that those particular things, the only reason why I don't follow my rules because I'm not abiding by 100% of what I'm supposed to do. So therefore, I fall short on that. But I know.
But we all do, though.
If you faithfully are eating the sun for energy, and you say, I'm eating the sun for energy, it's a flaw because there's not only the sun. the sun is not exclusive. With the sun, if you have the sun and no water, the plants won't grow.
First of all, you're the one who fixated in on the sun. I said from the beginning, fire, water, earth, air, and
I don't see you worshiping the water. I don't see you looking at the water, letting the
you
water
are
run.
instigating me, and you would rather have an argument than a real conversation.
That is right there.
But you're a man who knows the law. Aren't you not supposed to be
But
instigating?
you see what you just said? You got right there offensive when I point out.
I'm not offended. I'm speaking the truth. That offends you?
Not at all. But what I said to you is, you fixated on one thing. And I said, well, I don't ever see you worshiping the air. I'm going to do some air time or some water time. I don't see you do that.
Yes, I do.
I heard you talk about.
Yes,
So
you
how
do.
will the people? Okay, conversation. Put that off. Conversation over.
Okay,
I
see?
want.
And you know better. What do I do at the gym? I go in the water. I'm always in the water. Yes, I am. So you need to stop. And deep body breathing is my exercises you see me doing with the therapeutic dance. You don't pay attention to me, so you don't know. End of story.